Gather around, freaks. We took a week off, I know, but it's Thursday night again. So gather around your internet fire and your internet radio. And we're coming at you with a brand new episode of Hey. Oh, shit. Do you have the shit ready? Hey, did you see this one?
With its covers tightly sealed and nightmares lurking within, the ancient book stirs ominously, whispering of unspeakable horrors and twisted sacrifices that have plagued the brave souls who dared to peek inside. But beware, for one of our sinister hosts has made a ghastly discovery. As the yellow pages were last turned, a malevolent truth unraveled. Pages are missing, each one leading to a dark realm far more terrifying than the tome itself. A place where madness reigns, monstrous abominations lurk, and mayhem consumes all who venture too deeply. This chilling revelation serves as a stark reminder that monsters manifest in a myriad of forms. And Hey, Did You See This One? Invites you to brave the darkest corners of mind, matter, and mystery in search of the grimoire of familiar killers. Lost Pages.
Oh, hello. It's
That
once again to talk about things that go bump in the night. It's episode 143 of a little podcast that whoops. How do you get it to go into the background?
Jesus Christ. Just relax. I'll do it. You go to background.
Okay, Stevie, take care. There, thank you. I'm a Luddite apparently. Yes, it is episode 143. We're off to a great start. The grimoire is open, but some pages have fallen out. These pages range from spooky
and really good suspension building, and does everything that a horror movie should do. It just happens to be very funny at the same time.
It had lots of great fart jokes and fart joke callbacks.
Some might say it has something for everyone.
It's true. It is, of course, Shaun of the Dead. I would like to introduce our guest for this week. Please welcome star of stage and screen. You may have seen him on TikTok for his One Bite Nathan sort of series and various sketch comedy bits and bops. That's what the kids say. I don't know what I'm talking about. Please welcome to the show for the first time, Nathan Taylor. Nathan Taylor, welcome. Welcome. Hey.
Hello.
There we go.
I love you. Random fan.
They're all here for you, man.
It's
good to see you again, Nathan. It's been so long, too long, some would say.
Yeah.
But I enjoy your TikToks. I always comment when I can.
Thank
when I have
you.
something clever to say, anyway.
I appreciate
well.
the comments, no matter what they
It's
are.
there's that one series you were doing with like just like your roommates, I think your like group of friends. That was
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like a reality TV show. And I think it got a little bit of traction too because I was seeing it like all over the place for a couple weeks.
yeah.
And yeah, you're doing some new stuff now. I was looking at today. But yeah, it's good. It's good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Have various things we do on the show here. I tried to wrap everything up on the pre-show with the fan guessing game as always, but I do want to, of course, let everybody know you can find us on all social media at Hey Did You See This One. And I forgot to shout out Wipeout Audio, who does a lot of our like theme music stuff. So go check them out on YouTube. I just forgot to mention that at the top of the show. I am a little bit discombobulated because I set up a new screen that has the layout, and it's behind me. So if I'm turning my head fully, that's why.
I'm sure we were all wondering why.
Introduce guest. Check.
It looks like you're looking at me.
Yeah.
Very intently.
That's hilarious. So episode 143, Shaun of the Dead, Lost Pages. Why don't we talk about our brief history with Shaun of the Dead?
Oh,
A brief history.
Great.
Of course, the people asked for it, and they wanted the guests to go first. So that's right. Nathan, why don't you give us your brief history with Shaun of the Dead? Basically, the first time you saw it, what it means to you over the years, this and that.
Wow. Okay. Well, brief history. The first time I saw it was today. I wasn't really like a horror movie fan, and probably around the time this came out, I was much younger, so I wasn't watching any sort of horror or zombie movies or anything like that. Not knowing how much of a comedy this also is at the same time. It's still gory, but the watching of it today made me laugh and enjoy what was from this is like 2004, I'm pretty sure it came out.
That's right.
Yeah, so I appreciated the comedy and the riskiness that they would take in 2004 that maybe is missed nowadays.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. So like you never got around to seeing it when it came out, eh?
No, because I never watched anything horror or zombies growing up. Just in general, I didn't watch horror movies. We didn't watch them like as a family or with friends or anything like that. So my history started today.
That's great.
history has to start somewhere,
It's true.
Gotta start.
We've got lots to talk about this too. So I'm glad that it's fresh in your head. World Mind is absolutely correct. It is one of the best edited films I've ever seen. There's a lot of really good stuff in there that we'll cover. Steve, your brief history with the film Shaun of the Dead.
I saw this movie in theater when it came out on the first day it came out, or the opening weekend at least. I remember seeing the trailer for this and having no idea who the people in this movie were. They were not famous in the United States or Canada at the time. So I just remember being very intrigued by the trailer because I hadn't really... Horror comedy was not something that I was familiar with, and the trailer did such a good job of making me comfortable to go see a horror movie in theaters. I never really saw them in theaters around this time. This was when I was watching them at home, when I had the ability to stop it if it was too spooky and too scary for me. I was still fairly young, so I was not seeing horror movies regularly in theaters at this point, but I was starting to dip my toe, and I was excited. I was very excited for it because I hadn't really been overly steeped in anything horror comedy, and this looked like it was kind of up my alley. And it was also when I was really starting to first get into zombie stuff. Like zombie stuff was big in the year 2001 to like 2008, and then it really went into mainstream with like The Walking Dead and stuff, where everybody had zombie mania. Everybody's walking around loving zombies for a decade. But this was just before that, when zombies were kind of on the uptick, but not as big as they became. But yeah, I saw it in theaters and I was blown away. I was shocked at how good a horror movie could be. I always kind of considered them to be like, there wasn't such thing as like a prestige horror movie without it being like a thriller or one of the big tentpole franchises, and they were always kind of hacky or whatever you want to call it, B movie material. And then watching this, I was like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And I walked away just being obsessed. And I ended up like, looking into who Simon Pegg was and who Edgar Wright was. And, they still weren't even doing that much outside of television at this point. But this was kind of the jump off point for them too, which is exciting because they went on to make a trilogy. A trilogy that has nothing to do with one another. They're all individual films, but they're technically considered a trilogy. All three of them are great. But yeah, that's my brief history. I saw it in theater and I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, for me, I didn't see it in theater, but I definitely. So, like you, Nathan, I've talked about this on the show a million times. As we do more horror, I understand that horror isn't the horrible thing all the time that I thought it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I'd go into the video rental place and look at the covers of the horror movies and be like, I'll never be able to watch something so scary. But then, you grow up, become an adult, and a lot of it is just like your perception of the suspense. But for whatever reason, and just to give you some more context, I watched The Walking Dead as it came out, and it just slowly desensitized me to the point that now I can handle pretty much anything. It's not a big deal.
Right.
But this film, when it came out, for whatever reason, I think the fact that it's got a lot of comedy. I was able to watch it I think I saw it in 2005 for the first time. And I have seen it like a couple times over the years. But the thing that I really found interesting was watching it yesterday. It pretty much plays out exactly the way I remember it in my head, which is a testament to how well made the film is, because there's no wasted motion. There's no oh, I don't even remember this part, because you don't tune anything.
Right.
You just it goes from beat to beat to beat, and everything is so vivid and imaginative. And it's Edgar Wright's first major motion picture, right? Is it his
That's
first?
crazy. It's so imaginative.
Yeah, it's his first movie, I think, that was released globally. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about him a little bit, director talk is the next segment, and I don't think we've ever done it Edgar Wright, so we should talk about him a little bit. I think
he did a lot of music videos and television before this, but yeah, I think this is his first movie. I even remember the trailer, it being, I think it was a Searchlight movie, because movies that were set in England with an American cast, or sorry, an English cast, like a movie that had nothing to do with North America, even in 2004, it would still get a small release, because they're like, nobody knows who these people are, nobody knows who the director is, nobody cares about England in the United States, so we're not going to give it a huge release here. And we had to go to a specific theater to see it. I remember it wasn't playing everywhere. So yeah, it was. But and then after this movie, every single one of his movies gets a marquee release.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to hit the director talk?
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry, my tabs. I got too many tabs going right now.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit. Sound. Speed. Action!
Right. So we have a bunch of those, so get ready.
I love it. That's awesome.
You've got red on you. I forgot to wear something with red on it.
I realized today I don't own any red clothing. Yeah, Nathan has so much red on him.
Yeah,
I got a lot of red on.
Yeah, right. So Edgar Wright is, of course, the director of this film, and like Steve was saying, he did mostly TV. If I recall correctly, he did the television show Spaced, which basically has the same cast as this movie, or a bunch of similar people. including Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, and I believe his like ex-girlfriend, who's in that alternate crew, is from that show as well.
Pretty much the entire cast of Spaced is in this movie in some capacity somewhere, if not the main group, you know?
And then there's an episode I watched Space back in the day. Back, you know, the show was like, it started in '99 and it was like 2 or 3 seasons, and they were short. Those British short seasons. And there's an episode where they actually have they fantasize about them getting attacked by zombies.
Yeah, they're playing Resident Evil 2, I think, and they go into like basically a zombie episode, which was the template for this movie. Actually, they making that they decided to make this,
which is great. And then this movie, along with there's 2 other movies, Hot Fuzz and what's the third? The World's End are sort of a trilogy. They have like a
what is it called? The Miletto trilogy, I think. It's the ice cream bar that they eat in every. It's like an ice cream bar.
Cornetto
trilogy. What did I say? Miletto.
Miletto.
Yeah. There's the ice cream is in all 3 movies in some way. Hot Fuzz is probably top 5 favorite movies of all time. Like, it's up there for me. I rewatch that movie all the time. I love that movie so much. Like this, it's like super tight. There's no fat. It's trimmed. It's like breakneck pace. Anytime you're breathing, there's still tension being built in some other capacity, whether it be camera work or music or, you know, just just like the narrative unfolding on screen. It's great. If you haven't seen, have you seen Hot Fuzz, Nathan?
I have not.
Yeah,
I feel like I've seen parts of it. Like, I remember when that movie was coming out, and I think I wanted to watch it. I feel like I was younger. When was that? 2007. So I was pretty young and wanting to watch it. My parents didn't let me. So there was a lot.
You can watch it now, Nathan. You can watch whatever you want now.
I know, but there's so much to watch now. It's crazy.
It's true.
And I'm playing video games. So
when you find the time. What I do is I watch movies and play video games at the same time, like a psychopath.
That's what I do as well, because my attention deficit is just fucked from.
Yeah, I need my Switch in hand and a movie on the screen.
Yeah, you can get through a lot of movies and TV shows if you're playing a game that has a lot of like mindless like grinding or like sports games and stuff.
Yeah,
or like racing. You know, just things that you don't have to pay attention to really either, and you get a lot of information from both. But what's interesting with Edgar Wright is he makes these like really like weird and different films. He made the Scott Pilgrim versus the World film based on the comics. It's a fantastic movie. I love that one. He made Baby Driver and he made Last Night in Soho. And I think of all of these movies, the only one I haven't seen is Last Night in Soho, which I hear was not one of his best. But, you know, it looks pretty interesting. I think you saw it, Steve, right?
No, I actually haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I haven't watched that. I've watched Baby Driver. I really liked Baby Driver. That was interesting.
Baby Driver's fantastic.
There's also no reason I haven't watched it. It's just I just never got around to it, and I didn't hear enough buzz about it, I guess, is the main thing.
It came and went, as I recall.
Even Baby Driver, it took me a while to get it, to like just watch it, and I think it honestly has to do with the fact that like I love his Nick Frost Simon Pegg movie so much that the fact that they were absent made me be like, well, I don't care then. Not that I think that I think he's an amazing director and I've liked everything he's done, but those two together directed by him is just like, it's amazing.
You need the combo.
I need the combination. Yeah.
There's sort of in my opinion, there's sort of an unofficial movie in this series. It's not directed by Edgar Wright, but has a similar energy, and it's the movie Paul.
No,
these two characters.
Oh, he did Paul.
No, he didn't do Paul. It's a different director, different writer, and everything. It was written by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, but it has the same kind of energy as these.
Energy there.
It has more of an energy that's closer to like a Seth Rogen film, because
more like a Seth. Yeah,
it is a Seth Rogen film. I mean, it doesn't feel like these movies at all. Like the editing is what makes these movies feel like they all exist in the same universe, even though the characters are different, being played by the same people. And also just his narrative style is, again, it's like so tight, and there's no, like I said before, there's no fat. It's just like it moves from scene to scene, and every single scene is giving you important information. And not to say that there's like no room to breathe. It's just that even in the moments where you're breathing, it's giving you small bits and pieces of information that will then come back later, or character development that is important later on. Like the moment where in this movie where his old friend runs into him on the street, and she says, like, "Oh, I'm so glad that at least someone made it." And then like at the end of the movie, she says that same line to him again. And there's so many moments of that kind of duality throughout the movie. It's great.
The callbacks throughout the whole movie are a very good touch.
I was gonna say his ability to pay off a foreshadow is expertly showcased in this movie specifically. I've seen this movie probably 3 or 4 times now. I've only seen Hot Fuzz and World's End once, and I've seen Scott Pilgrim probably 10 times. And it has similar editing elements, but it's based off source material, so he didn't stray from it that much, except he kind of changed the ending, because the comic book and the movie came out at like the same week. So the Brian Lee O'Malley, who made the comics, sort of adjusted his ending to sort of match with Edgar Wright's vision and vice versa. But this is like the beginning of his style. This is sort of like those smash cuts of them doing those like cuts to different things happening really fast, I think, is in all of his films. I think he does that all the time.
And that's he didn't create that style, but he found a way to make it not feel like he was biting off of someone's, because like I've heard a lot of criticisms of Edgar Wright being like, he edits like David Fincher when David Fincher's trying to do something like this, except he does it in every movie. And I'm like, that's not a bad thing, because it doesn't feel like you're watching a David Fincher movie when you're watching an Edgar Wright movie. It feels like you're watching an Edgar Wright movie. And he was able to forge his own identity using tricks of the trade that were perfected by others, but he found another way to use it in a way that is, like you were saying, extremely imaginative and creative. And his movies do feel like they exist almost in a fantasy world, even though they're grounded in reality. Like everything is so heavily scripted and clever. That's the other thing, is like everything is clever all the time. And to the point that it feels unrealistic, but it's charming and fun.
I really liked that element watching it. It was like the editing and all of the sounds. I really appreciated the audio that went with all of the editing, because it's like it elevated each little moment that didn't need to be elevated the way it does, but because of how it's shot and how it sounds and the colors to it, it makes it like a bigger moment for no reason. But it now stands out, like all of these small things. So it's that same idea of, nothing's wasted. There's no motion or moment wasted. It's just everything is sick.
Even like
very succinct way to put it. It's all very like just like good, and it's fucking dope.
I mean, to further that point, even the typical opening credit sequence that you see in a movie, where it's just sort of like establishing shots or panning shots of the town to like show you like this is the town, like all of that is used as well to be like, here's this kid playing soccer, here's this guy cleaning his car, here's this old man dealing with the trash. All of that they come back again when he's doing his first round about the neighborhood. Then they come back a third time when they're all dead. And it's like he uses those moments to be like, I'm going to show you something 3 different times, and 3 different times they're going to be different. And then obviously one of them is going to be super different. And that's almost like rewards like secondary and tertiary watches of the movie, because you're noticing things that you didn't notice the first time, because there's so much to take in. And even stuff like the cleverness of him getting up and sitting down on the couch to play video games, and like the TV screen, you don't see this screen, you don't see what they're playing, you just hear the noises, and you hear like, player 2 has entered the game, and he's like, don't you have to go to work? Player 2 has exited the game.
He sits down for literally 2 seconds. We can probably just start talking about the body of the episode now.
The body of the episode?
The body of the episode.
This is the body of the episode. Nathan. You 143 episodes in. We've kind of gone back and forth on should we just talk about the movie freely. Sometimes it doesn't work that well. Should we talk about every little beat for beat meticulously through the film? That gets a little long-winded. I've devised a plan. The new plan now is I ask AI to write out the main points of the film so there's not too much. I have my own notes as well.
I know, but you explain it every fucking week. We don't need you to explain it. Just fucking talk.
Listen, I'm explaining it. Anyway, the first act is essentially establishing the characters and relationships of the film. We get to meet all these characters, and the first scene that we get is Shaun, Liz, Ed, David, and Diane are at the Winchester, and we sort of get the whole idea that Liz is frustrated with Shaun's lack of ambition and his dependence on his best pal Ed.
I mean, I could probably give you like a 2-sentence synopsis of the movie really quickly if you want.
Yeah,
Shaun of the Dead is a movie about a man who is feeling lost in his life. He's a little bit aloof and he doesn't focus on the small details. He's having trouble with his parents, his stepdad and his mom, and his girlfriend, who breaks up with him throughout the course of the movie because of these things, his inability to focus and commit to her appropriately. She's also annoyed that they go to the Winchester all the time, which is his favorite pub, with his best friend, who nobody really likes because he's kind of a leech on his life, as they say. And during this tumultuous moment in his life, a zombie attack happens, and then he and all of his friends and loved ones have to figure out how to survive, and they end up at the Winchester in a final standoff with the zombies. Everyone dies.
Sweet irony.
Everyone dies except for him and his ex-girlfriend, who becomes his girlfriend again, and they live happily ever after with his friend Danny living in the shed as a zombie playing video games for, I guess, all eternity.
Until he dies a normal human death.
And joins him in there. Yeah,
gets bit by accident by his best pal Ed, who's a zombie. But that's all the way at the end. This movie starts out with so one of the great things about this movie that I really forgot, the one thing I forgot was the soundtrack is outstanding. There's lots of little bits that like music you hear in the background. There's a big fight scene to Queen. You know, they got 2 Queen songs for this movie, which I thought was pretty crazy for being like a first big movie for a director like this.
The story goes is that he was having trouble getting Don't Stop Me Now, and he eventually showed them that scene cut together with the music, that they were like, oh fuck yeah, you can have it. This is great.
Right.
I'm sure they probably still had to pay for it, but they were like, this is outstanding.
Yeah, they probably gave him a deal because that music would have been expensive.
Brian May was just like, hell yeah, man, that's keep us relevant.
Well, I mean, that scene specifically, it's like the way it's cut. Again, the editing in this movie is amazing. It's shot like it's a music video, and I mean, Edgar Wright experience in music videos. He doesn't just like want to have the song in there for the sake of having it in there. He's like, I want to make an entire fight sort of dance choreography where they're like all hitting with pool cues at the same time to the beat of the music. And it's like, it's almost like the people in the movie they get into rhythm because of the song. Like they start to get into rhythm.
You can hear the rhythm of the sticks hitting from each person, and like all of the movements that are happening between the whole song is all within the rhythm of the song. It's like adding more to the song with the action.
Yeah, the song is adding to the scene, and the scene is adding to the song. It's great. It's
everything so complimentary. It's actually crazy.
That's that. I love that the ability to use music in film like that. Sorry, what were we gonna say, Steve?
No, I was just gonna agree. I was just agreeing with Nathan, and then you started talking, and then I guess you didn't have a full thought.
No, that's a new crutch I'm working on. It's what? Sorry, see what? What'd you say?
What'd you
say?
What? Huh? What?
Yeah, well, I mean, so the movie opens with Shaun and his girlfriend having a disagreement about their familiar ties and their friendships. And basically, Shaun doesn't like her friends, and she doesn't like Shaun's friends or friend. Yeah, I don't know if Shaun has any other friends other than Danny.
Have you guys ever seen? Sarah.
Peter Serafinowicz.
Pete.
Peter Seraf, yeah.
Pete. Yeah,
Um,
he likes him.
but Dylan Moran had a show around this time called Black Books. Have you seen that TV show? It's about this curmudgeonly bookstore owner that has the same kind of energy as the TV show The IT Crowd, which is also another classic British like sitcom about IT professionals.
Yeah,
it's a good show, but the thing is like Dylan Moran's, he's a stand-up comic, and he's a
the Irish guy?
He's the Irish guy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I know the show you're talking about. Yeah, I haven't watched it. Like I've seen clips of it, but I haven't watched it yet.
It was like it was a big deal for me, like in this era, and then I watched it through like twice, and I have to point out that British sitcoms and TV shows of this era were always 6 episodes. Like the British Office is like 12 episodes, 16 episodes total or something in a like a special, and that's what they used to do. They do 6 episodes, a Christmas special, and then like a finale season. And absolutely, yeah, this is correct. This is the style of comedy, just deadpan sarcasm. Chef's
I forgot
fingers.
the cast calls it Chef Fingers, and it's so much better than Chef's
It gets me every time.
Chef's Fingers.
I'm not sure if she doesn't know that it's Chef's Kiss, but Chef's Fingers is much better.
I heard the tale of why it's Chef's Fingers, and it's pretty funny.
We'll get her to tell the story the next time she's on. But the thing that I really liked that brand of comedy. So I'm seeing that show, Black Books. I'm seeing Spaced, which is, you know, what this movie's sort of based off of, that sitcom, and the original British Office, all at the same time sort of exist in this realm of new British comedy. So the fact that they made a movie that sort of captures that, you can also see in this film, Martin Freeman is in it from The Office, and that one guy from Little Britain is Ed's counterpart when they're crossing each other. The guy that plays the Tweedledee and Tweedledum in the Johnny Depp Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, they all worked together previous to this. Like they're all around the same age, and a bunch of them are in the other movies as well, right? Like Martin Freeman is in Hot Fuzz for a scene. He's also one of the main-ish characters in The World's End. And then he does sort of the Kevin Smith thing where his movies are different and they tell a different story, but they feel like they take place in the same world. And then he uses all the same actors to play different people because he just enjoys working with them. And he knows like, oh, this character would be perfect for Bill Nighy, because Bill Nighy is like a old British man who's kind of scary, even though when you see him in interviews, he seems like the nicest man on the planet. Davy Jones himself, guys. That's Shaun's dad. It's Davy Jones. You know, from Pirates of the Caribbean fame.
Of course.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. He's like the police chief in the second movie, and I haven't seen The World's End enough. I think I saw it twice. I saw it in theaters, and then I saw it once again when I was like hungover one day, so none of the information really stuck. But I've seen Shaun of the Dead a million times, and I've seen Hot Fuzz a million times.
And Peter Serafinowicz in this film is very like serious, but when he does stand-up comedy and sketch and stuff, he's like the goofiest, silliest.
He's got versatility
weirdest,
comedically, man.
Yeah.
Like, he was Darth Maul. He played Darth Maul in episode 1. He does the voice of Darth Maul. So like he's got range when it comes to the things that he can do. But like, have you ever seen him do like the Quentin Tarantino impression, or the what is the one where he's I saw him on like 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown or whatever it's called. You know, those British panel shows where they basically like put a bunch of comedians onto like a game show or whatever. And like Jimmy Carr goes up and he's introducing everybody, and then he introduces Peter Serafinowicz, and he's like, "So Peter, what have you been up to lately?" And then he just goes like, "Well, Jimmy, to be completely honest, I don't think that's any of your business." Like he just basically like shuts him down. Because there's like this buildup of anticipation, like he's gonna say something, you know, interesting. But that's kind of the character he's playing in this, right? Is this like heavy weighted professional who's like got almost no sense of humor whatsoever and no levity, but you can tell that he used to be fun. You know, like he's a guy who's no longer fun. He became serious.
A lot of people may know him for this sketch. This is
The kitchen is so hard to clean. If only there was an easier way.
Hi, I'm Derek Bum. Say goodbye to Bailey stains and dirty surfaces with new Kitchen Gun.
This sink is filthy, but just 3 shots from Kitchen Gun, and it sparkles like new. Look how it cleans this greasy hob.
Goodbye, Dad.
Grubby tiles.
I love you, Kitchen Gun.
Rusty taps.
Oh my gosh.
You can even use it on the washing up. There, all clean
crazy.
again. New Kitchen
Kitchen
Gun,
Gun.
now with laser sight and night vision for after dark cleaning.
so
Oh my
I
God.
like that's like what I know him from originally.
He does this
And
really good.
That's
There's like this like acting masterclass done by Michael Caine, where Michael Caine's like, all right, so I'm going to teach you how about acting, and like, you know, he's doing all this stuff, but then Peter Serafinowicz does like a riff on it where he's wearing the same clothes that he's wearing in that, and he's like, you see, if I hold a sausage up to the camera lens, it looks like I'm smoking a cigar, and like it shows the lens, it's like a real cigar. He's like, if you put this, he's like, because like cigars don't look like cigars on camera, so you have to use sausages. Anyway, I recommend looking that one up too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So as far as this movie goes, these two guys are kind of like losers. Pete is his name in the movie. He's kind of freaking out because they're basically going nowhere in life, and we're introduced to Shaun's like place of work, which is he works at like a refrigerator.
Yeah, it's like an appliance store
shop.
or whatever. It's a real like Simpsons position, you know, like just such a weird specific job that I don't think I've ever met anybody who has that job in real life. You know, like, what do you do? I sell refrigerators. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's a job?
You live off of that?
I mean,
how?
And through all of this, as we mentioned earlier, we're getting little things like Simon Pegg will walk and we'll get like it'll zoom up from his feet and it'll sound like he's making zombie noises, but he's just yawning. You know, he says, "You're dead," to the next time I see you, you're dead, to the little kid, which is true, you know?
Yeah.
Because the kid kicks the football. Yeah.
He
And one of my,
the time.
yeah.
That made me
clumsy.
upset in the movie. I'm like, why does he keep tripping over things? Like, what is he tripping on?
Hey, man,
We went through the
don't make
same
fun of people who
sequence,
trip on things.
on everything at the same time.
I find it endearing. I trip a lot, Nathan. I trip on stuff.
Oh, I don't trip. I don't get it. I'm like, why am I falling at any point in time?
I
I'm
trip a lot.
unbalanced. That's for sure. I fall
also-
on myself just by standing, but
I get my stuff stuck on doorknobs and stuff too. Like I'll walk directly into a doorknob. I'm one of those people.
My lanyard always gets caught on doorknobs. I have a lanyard on my keys.
one of the pools.
One of my favorite things that this movie does is when he first walks to work for the first time, we get a redo of that right at the beginning of like the second act, I guess it would be, because it's like he's so hungover. We'll get to why all of that happens, but I just like these parallels. And in this opening bit, we actually see some people doing some sort of synchronized walk. I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's just meant to, they're maybe exercising or going for a walk together.
It's also just like visual storytelling. It's meant to be like people are zombies already. Like they do everything. You know, they're sheep
at the
and, like,
beginning, it's when the title screen or the title card is at the bottom of them, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of like shots of conformity and like people being drone-like and having the same sort of routines every day, and the movie's basically being like, we're already zombies, guys. Like,
exactly.
True.
Yeah.
And then
a great visual.
Something I missed probably the first time I ever watched it is they actually explain exactly where the virus comes from. As he's walking by like a radio news program, they say an asteroid has broken up in the atmosphere and plummeted down to Earth. and now people are getting a strange illness. It's been sweeping.
I think they give you like 4 different things. Like,
oh,
so
really?
there's a
Really?
bunch. That's just one of them. There's like a bunch of
like
other
little
ones too.
hints
Yeah.
around.
So it's like they give you enough information to confuse you, because you're like, wait, is it mad cow disease or is it the space asteroid? And like they don't really ever make it totally clear. So it's like it could be several different things. Yeah.
Pick whatever you want too.
Pick
You know
whatever
what I mean? Like,
Which I think is a
all
good.
the zombie tropes at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
But don't
also,
say zombie.
yeah,
but-
but it's also like it's the movie's also being like, it doesn't matter why the zombies are here, guys. Like we can give you a reason, but you're never going to be satisfied. So here, pick one of these 5 and you can pick the one you like, and we'll just tell the story, because that's what the movie is about, is the story of the people surviving, right?
Yeah.
It's COVID.
It's COVID. It's just
COVID all
COVID.
along. Yeah. You guys was a great sorry.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I do a lot of things as the producer, man. The masterclass foreshadow is you got red on you, because Shaun probably takes the most cumulative battle damage through the movie. Keeps getting blood splattered on it, but it starts with him putting a pen in his pocket and it exploding as he's trying to do all these things in his life, like book dinner for him and his girlfriend Liz, buy flowers for his mom. His stepfather is this, like you were saying, this like straight and narrow old man who's like, he talks like Davy Jones, because he is.
He is Davy.
And this movie also does a masterclass at non-scary jump scares, where a new scene will start by just like doing this. Yeah. And I found that through the movie, it builds this suspense where you're like, oh, you get ready for it. But then they do a thing where, like when he's in the basement in the Winchester towards the end, and it shows the zombies just kind of outside the window, or when it shows just shows the large swaths of zombies, and it's unsettling, like a legit horror movie. And then they'll hit us with some levity, but
it is a legit horror movie. This movie is scarier than some horror movies, Some
True.
movies that try really hard to be scary, this movie is more frightening.
I like that with the you got red on you. He also always had a red article of clothing on, like throughout the movie. He had like a red tie in his work outfit. By the end of the movie, he's got like a red bandana on. Like there's always actually red on him.
Yeah, he's literally red.
No
that's also
what.
like, yeah, that's also kind of like a comic booky thing too, like it just looks cooler as well, like visually, like to match everything together.
The girlfriend's like always in blue, his best friend's always in green.
Yeah, it's like Power Rangers-y, like everybody's
the
got
color
their
palette is intentional.
Oh.
What is it? The other girl, that's what's her name? Julie, something like that.
Who?
She's always in yellow.
Yeah, there's
the other
woman. Yeah, Julia, I think her name is, or Julie or Julia.
Julia, and David. David's in and green.
Or is it Diana or Diane?
Diana? Is that her name?
I can't remember. Hold on. Diane.
I don't know why I can't remember.
This cast is so big.
Yeah, it's Diane.
Diane, yeah. But yeah, color scheme was so intentional with like every clothing.
Yeah, Lucy Davis, also from the British Office. She's like the fan character, and she's also in a million things now at this point.
I'm just gonna grab some water. I'll be right back.
I thought you were talking about the ex-girlfriend, whose name the Yvonne. By
no, not her. No, she was part of the group.
Yeah, that's Diane.
Diane, yeah. Is she dating David, if I was correct?
So what we learn late in the movie is that he had a crush on Liz. They keep referencing that he loves Liz throughout the movie, and then at the end we find out that when they were in college, he tried to go for Liz and Diane were friends. and he sort of like pivoted
to like get close, right?
Yeah, he pivoted to the friend, and then, well, we see what happens.
Yeah.
He gets the worst death.
He gets
some
shredded.
fucking
It's crazy. That one was fucked up. I was like, what the fuck? He's like getting grabbed, like, oh, okay, he's about to get bit and die and get like brought into the crowd. No, he's getting shredded from his intestines, and they're eating it mid-scream, and then all of his body parts pop off of him.
Yeah, I thought that was goofy but funny.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's like it's horrifying, and then it becomes goofy after. You're like, oh, it's funny now.
They cut back and his head is just being like moshed away.
They have to feed the zombies in the back. That's like the classic sort of Romero zombie trope. You know, it's the thing that young filmmakers making an amateur film learn how to do. First, I made a zombie movie when I was in my first year of film school, and we just like went and got a bunch of meat from the store and some fake blood, and like figured out a way to like put a t-shirt on a box and just have zombies rip out stuff. And yeah, you figure it out. And this is like this is the top tier version of that.
Basically,
just get a bunch of pig guts.
I would have seen this movie probably on a shitty old tube TV in 2004. I watched it in like blazing 4K on a big screen TV, and it was just, everything looked so good. Like it pops so much in 4K.
In 4K, it was nice.
Essentially at this point in the film, Shaun messes up once again with Liz. She's feeling neglected. She breaks up with him, and it leads to Shaun and Ed going to the Winchester Tavern. I thought it was hilarious that he doesn't get the reservation that he promised. And Ed's like, just take her to the Winchester. He's like, they don't have food. And he's like, just get her a Toasty. And I'm wondering how many times they've just gone to the Winchester for beer. And a Toasty, I think, is beans on toast. I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was like a meat pie, like a Jamaican patty.
Oh, maybe it is a Jamaican patty. Well, these are all very, very British cuisine things.
I thought it was just like toast, and I thought that was awful.
I'll look it up for you guys. What is a Toasty?
I think it's
a grilled cheese sandwich.
Literally just grilled cheese.
Toasties are paninis. You learn something every day.
Just get her a grilled cheese, like
for their
3-year
anniversary.
The anniversary. Get her some beer and a grilled cheese. She'll be happy.
My wife would be happy with that, but we've been together for like 12 years, so
better than nothing.
This is a good point, Luna Divinare. Or Divinaire. I still haven't asked you how to pronounce that properly. But transition from comedy to horror makes the audience desensitized and see everything as funny. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a great example of this as well. That is like a pretty gory horror movie that is funny. A person goes through a wood chipper in that movie in pretty graphic detail, and it's played for laughs. If you compare that to a person going through a wood chipper in Fargo, which is definitely not played for laughs and incredibly horrifying.
Fargo's pretty funny though.
Fargo is technically a dark comedy. That's true.
Technically.
That'd be a good movie to cover on this show. Just to spread awareness.
Have you seen this one? Everybody simultaneously. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, this is one of those where people are like, "Oh, you're doing Shaun of the Dead. That's awesome." A lot of people have seen this one.
Yeah,
I do like to call back to the soundtrack again when the Ed puts on Chicago, which is a great song. Did you notice that Edgar Wright's crying face acting is like crazy good?
Simon Pegg? Yeah.
What'd I say?
Yes. You said Edgar Wright.
Yeah, Edgar Wright shows up for 10 minutes. And
Simon Pegg is
I don't think he's in that movie, but
He is in Hot Fuzz. He plays a crime scene detective who is in a full scrub with a mask on, so you can't see him. But it's a very funny joke where
wow.
Simon Pegg goes up and he's like, "Joanne, I think I have to tell you something important. I think it's time we break up." And then he's talking to a person in a full scrub, and it's like, "I'm not Joanne." It's like so funny.
Wow.
And then he turns, talks to her, and says the exact same line again. So fun. So funny.
They get trashed. They get drunk as hell. Or pissed, as the British say.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed is basically like, let's party all night and then go get a quick breakfast and then come back and keep drinking.
Keep going.
Simon Pegg's like, Shaun is like, I have a life. I need to win my girlfriend back. As they're leaving, we're getting to the Home Alone of it all for me, which I'll explain in gory detail for you at the end, Nathan. But basically at this point, we do see our first zombie. Well, technically second zombie. So when they enter the Winchester, there's two people making out.
Yes.
But we find out as they're leaving that it was just a person eating another person for the whole time they were drinking, which I thought was funny.
Crazy.
And you see the head fall off, like out of focus.
Like, gross. Like, snapped off.
Yeah, the sound design there is too. It's so wet sounding. Like,
yeah, it's like, that head is gone.
And they're singing a song. I'm not sure what song. I'm sure if I heard the real version, I'd know it. But they're singing a song. Yeah, the
song that they play right afterwards at home.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
And then they're singing this song, and they're using the zombie growls to be part of the chorus, which I thought was a funny little bit. They go home. They keep partying. Pete's up, pissed off. He's like, I have to work tomorrow because everybody's sick. And they're like, but it's Sunday. And he's like, I don't give a shit.
No, they say it's Saturday. And he's like, it's not fucking Saturday. It's fucking Sunday. He's so mad.
And it's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was mad. He actually said like some really mean shit to Shaun, at that, yelling at him. And I thought that was really gonna like heavily weigh on him through the movie, and it was just like, oh no, he was sad for like the night because of that. And then
he was also so drunk he might not remember it. he may not remember it. Yeah,
he definitely goes to write down what he wants to do to change his life and just passes out in a chair, which is a great, like, that shot transition from him sitting in the chair in the night and then suddenly it's daytime. Like, I know that feeling. Last night, for instance, I wasn't drunk, but I couldn't sleep. And I finally fell asleep, and it was that, like, I couldn't sleep, and then it was the next morning, like, just like flash right to the next day.
Yeah.
Tim makes a good point here. He does see a guy look like he eats a pigeon earlier in the movie.
That might have just been a crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That just could have been a guy in Toronto. Like, I feel like
I've seen that before. Yeah,
I've seen that before.
Yeah, it's pretty much par for the course here in the six. What do we call it nowadays?
Six.
Yeah.
People look like they're going into zombie mode on the bus, like very early.
Yeah, they're all coughing and wheezing.
All the coughing, and they're just like all drained. They all kind of have the same face and the same like clothing, same hairstyle, all of that. So I thought like, it was getting clear that, these zombies are happening all around him. And like throughout the first beginning of the movie, it's like, there's trucks and he's seeing the news and they're talking about it, but he's kind of like avoiding it. Mm-hmm. And then in the second time when it's like, shit's going down, when it's all going down, that's when Liz breaks up with him. So all of it's like chaotic now, but he's now emotionally destroyed. So he's not paying attention to any of it. When in the beginning of the movie, that's all he could see and notice. Like, everything's weird and he's noticing everything. I thought that was a cool juxtaposition of like his mental state lets him see these things in the world, and then not at all.
That's really good insight, because literally he's too hungover to notice that there's zombies everywhere in this next segment. We're sort of into Act 2 now.
Well, I think he's also heartbroken, which is real. Like if you're going through like an extreme heartbreak, like you're not focused. You can't focus on anything except for like this like sinking pain. And he's got both, right? He's got that plus a hangover. It's just like
the hangover and heartbreak for sure.
Which Edgar Wright does in this first bit in the morning. Some of the zombies are literally out of focus. Like when he goes into the convenience store, this is sort of Act 2 now. That was the act break where he wakes up. And when he goes to the convenience store, he does that same walk from the beginning. And he goes in the convenience store. He knows the convenience store owner well enough that he can just throw the money down on the table and be like, I'm taking the Cornetto and the Diet Coke. Diet Coke and Coke Zero, fantastic for hangovers, gotta say. But it's true. I love that, like that burn and that like bubbly and so when he's walking out, you can see the store owner like over his shoulder in the background. When he's walking through, the zombies are just sort of like, milling around. I really like what they do in this movie where there's not a lot at first, and by the time they're at the Winchester, it's full blown like there's so many zombies everywhere.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part of the movie when he's sauntering through the village to the corner store to get his Diet Coke or whatever, and you're recognizing it as like an astute movie watcher. You're like, oh, this is the same shot. This is great. Mm-hmm. And then now you're looking for the differences, right? You're like, okay, how can I remember what happened before? Is the
signs not over? Yeah, the same car like got a giant hole through the windshield. He's still tripping on whatever he tripped on last time.
A curb, I guess.
The garbage man isn't there anymore. It's like the cart is there, but he's not. The same people that he saw, they're either like sick or zombies. Maybe people are like on the ground.
And then, just in case you weren't paying attention, there's a giant bloody handprint on the door of the fridge, and you're like, okay.
He's like he slips on the blood on the floor a little bit too. It doesn't even like register.
He doesn't.
I thought he was gonna say a line like a little bit early for Halloween decorations. I thought that would have been a funny little. But I guess he doesn't.
This movie's too clever for that.
It's too clever. It's too. He's not. Yeah.
Then they do stuff that is like. They do stuff that I love, which is like. So like the last line before he passes out and wakes up is like his mom leaving a message on the phone or whatever, right? Like, she's like, I know a lot of people don't eat meat these days, and then it just like cuts to the next day, right? And I'm like, this is something that it's like so on the nose, but it's also so funny because you're just like, okay, we're just setting up for what's happening now. It's like this is it. This is the light switch.
When he goes home here too, he's channel surfing, and the people on the previous channel or their sentence would end with a new sentence, and it's telling basically what is happening in the movie right now, which is a really interesting way to
eaten alive.
Yeah. I like that.
That's just
every single word was a lead into the next channel.
Yeah.
And
I have a question for you guys. Have you guys ever been so hungover that you could possibly miss a zombie apocalypse? Me personally, I think there have been times where I've been walking home from like a friend's house, just like can't even open my eyes, and you're kind of like people will bump into you and you don't even like. I've been that hungover.
I've been so hungover that the facial recognition software on my phone didn't recognize my face.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty crazy.
I thought you were saying your brain, and I was like, yeah, I can see like you not recognizing somebody because your eyes are all fucked. But yeah, that's nuts.
I don't think I've been that hungover. I've been so hungover, my mom thought I was traumatized. She asked me. She's never asked me anything like that before.
Are you traumatized?
Are you traumatized? Are you okay?
Why do you have trauma in your voice? Oh, yeah,
oh well. I shouldn't have had those last 6 shots last night.
Those are the trauma shots.
Yeah. I just can't tell you what I was doing last night, Mom.
Why do you have trauma in your voice?
Don't worry about it. I'll be fine tomorrow. Just
That's kind of a real thing in my household where like me and my mom both do this thing where when we're hungover, we try to pretend we're not, even though it's so obvious because we're like this. But we're so stubborn. We're like, oh, I'm not hungover. I'm just tired. And my wife is like, you
drank 12 beers yesterday.
Yeah, you can't look me in the eye right now because you're still kind of drunk.
One of your eyes
party like I don't party like that anymore. But that line, you have trauma in your voice, just hit me like a ton of bricks.
that one was a big one. I was like, whoa, why would you say that, Mom? We just have dinner and I go to bed. Like, it's fine.
I think this is about the point that they encountered their first zombie. It's a realization of there could be something amiss with the, Shaun and Ed are finally realizing something's up when a woman is in their backyard who they think is drunk. And then she attacks Shaun and he pushes her back and she falls on like the bottom of some sort of stand.
It looks like an umbrella stand, like one of those big umbrellas.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, but she falls right through it. And that was one, really gross, but two, I appreciated that they showed the whole thing of her getting up off of it to the hole that's through it, and like had just a millisecond of a shot at the end of that with like the whole seeing his face. Like, I was like, that's sick.
Looked pretty good for this era. Steve, I forgot to ask you in the director talk portion, but do you have the numbers for this movie? How much it cost, how much it made? Because it doesn't seem like an overly expensive movie.
No, it was $6 million and it made
what?
Yeah, which is not a lot.
No.
But it also looks better than that. You look at movies.
There's digital squibs and stuff in it, like there's stuff in it.
But it still looks great. And I mean, the end is kind of like it's shot comedically and doesn't feel like an action movie. It feels like they just got a bunch of people in costumes to line up in a line and they just fired off squibs for 20 minutes or whatever and filmed it. Yeah. But it doesn't matter because the money is on screen. Everything looks great. Like they pinched every penny, in my opinion. It didn't make a lot. It only made 40, but it was still enough for them to consider it a hit and let Edgar Wright continue making movies.
Yeah, it makes Edgar Wright a hot ticket in Hollywood to give him a little bit more money and see what he can do with it. And that's where we get Hot Fuzz. I imagine there was a bit more money put into that.
It's a pretty big
there is.
It felt like a grander story.
Hot Fuzz?
Yeah, a lot more like action-y segments.
Yeah, it's his action movie. It's one
an action comedy.
The characters talk about Bad Boys 2 like 25 times in the movie.
Yeah. And then World's End is kind of like the sci-fi cornetto.
Yeah.
Fantasy.
I mean, they're also all dealing with something on a grander scale, right? Like thematically. Mm-hmm. It's like they're important movies narratively and thematically dressed in genre clothing. Like this is a horror movie, the other one's a science fiction movie, and then there's the action movie, but they're all kind of they're telling pretty important tales about the characters within them that have nothing to do with solving a murder mystery or dealing with a zombie apocalypse.
And they do my favorite thing in film, and that's genre bend. That's my favorite movies are always going to be the ones where they combine two different genres or three or more and just sort of create a new thing. This is one of the first like modern horror comedies that I can think of. There aren't a lot of horror comedies from like this early 2000s era. Maybe you can think of some others.
Me?
I don't know. You're the resident. How about you, Nathan? Sorry, I'll stop picking on Steven.
I'm terrible at it. I don't watch any horror comedy movies. I don't watch horror movies, so I won't have the choices for you.
That's fair.
I
How
mean,
How about you, chat?
there's plenty of horror comedy that exists. But I mean, I'm not a list monkey, Jason. If I have them in my head, I'll say them out loud.
Okay, sorry.
Does Jennifer's Body count as a horror
Yes,
comedy?
absolutely it does.
Technically, yeah, I think so.
That's what comes to me.
Yeah, we actually were going to do that one last month, but we didn't. So maybe we'll save it for later.
Next year.
Yeah, there's like what's that movie with Meryl Streep and Bruce Willis? That one's good, but that was years earlier. Anyway, I don't know. Well, I can't. Then they're not coming to me right now.
Yeah, I know that's weird. They're not really just Tucker and Dale because Luna Divinary mentioned it. So they battle. Oh, Ash versus Evil Dead. There we go. That's a TV show, but fair enough. All of the Evil Dead movies are a little bit horror comedy, especially the one where he goes to the Hell World, the medieval one.
The Army of Darkness.
The Army of Darkness, yes.
I don't know. I thought you meant like
Hell
this era. I can name other ones outside of it, but
yeah, that's true.
The Army of Darkness is good. Very, very goofy.
And stop motion zombies, skeletons. Very funny. They battle this zombie in the backyard. Another zombie comes in to sort of solidify, because this woman still looks pretty human. The next zombie they see is like a big fat kind of bloater zombie with his face all.
Well, I think he's just a fat guy. I don't think he's.
That's like a zombie archetype, though. It's you know what I mean.
Yeah. And they throw records at them. The Batman soundtrack. I remember that was in the trailer, and I was like, "This movie's gonna be great."
They're like going through the record collection, like, no, like that's a first run, that's a first print.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get rid of this.
That feels very much like that was in the first draft of the script. You know, they're like, "This is such a good joke, we have to do it somehow," because it does feel kind of like slapped in there, and it doesn't really kind of match up with the comedy and pacing of everything else. But it's still funny enough that I think it works. Like, it's goofy. I like it.
Have to be there.
Man,
I like it a lot when movies give you the rules of the thing that they're fighting, and the news broadcaster literally says, if you encounter any of these horrible flu monsters, destroy the brain or sever the head. And I forget, that's one thing I forgot about, that the newscaster, and at the end of the movie, the newscaster's like, I can't believe it. You know, I had to go on national television and tell people to decapitate and destroy brains.
and people did.
People did.
I found
it seems like they're
at the end of the movie there that the zombies just got integrated into life.
Yeah.
Like now we have a game show, Fun Dead.
Yeah.
Like someone they had like a Maury or Oprah type of thing where someone's married to the.
You go to bed with it, yeah.
It's like that is what would happen, honestly. If we just got zombies at some point, we'd find a way to make it part of life.
Yeah.
People would capitalize on it somehow. They'd be like, how can we make money off of these corpses?
We need money.
It would be like The Walking Dead, where there's like a weird group of people that makes you fight them to survive in like an arena, or keep them as, I think Negan kept them as like, he tied them to the fence for like security.
For the fence.
Yeah.
So like people can't cross the fence at all.
Yeah, I think the governor used them as something like that too, but like you had to like prove your worth. I don't know. The Walking Dead has some really good ideas and then some really dumb ideas. The more I finished that show last year, like I just caught up. I just watched the last like 4 seasons all in one go. Yeah. And if you're gonna watch The Walking Dead, the first like 2 seasons is all you need.
First 2,
pretty much up to, well, maybe the first 3 or 4, but like pretty much up to when like the end of the governor story arc. Wow. Negan is great in the comics, but he's not great in the TV show. And then by the end of it, it just goes the show goes berserk. I don't want to get into it. This is a much better, smaller scale zombie story, because spoilers, the military just shows up and just gets
I like when the
huge
military shows
horde.
up and she because like his friend is the one who called them or whatever, but she comes out and she's still got a golf club.
Oh,
She's got a
golf
golf
club.
club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
And she's
Everyone
still
has like
braiding people.
AKs and ARs and armor, and she has her golf club still, and kills like 2 zombies before getting here. Like they didn't spray with the 30 guys that showed up.
She just
and the
had to-
hundreds of bullets.
Yeah.
Dunk, dunk.
It's true, yeah. So this next segment is essentially the rescue mission portion where the plan is to go rescue Liz, the mother, and hopefully the friends. But earlier in the movie, the friends like aren't letting Shaun in. We get a great moment earlier in the movie where he goes to see Liz after, and he's like, "I'll just climb up there and come in. I'm coming in," and then he can't make it up. But when they finally do it again, he is able to climb. We start to see his heroicism. But before that, when they're devising the plan, they're like, "How are we going to get around?" And it's like, "Well, I don't think Pete's here because I didn't see him leave this morning. His car keys are here. He must have taken the bus or the train." And we don't get that situation. But while they're devising the plan, like zombies like crash through the windows. They have to like kill another one, knowing how to kill it. And the movie starts to get like a bit funnier here, like a little bit more like jokes per minute because there's a segment here that is sort of just like telling story versus like kills and zombies and stuff. And he sort of runs down like 3 different ways to like rescue his friends, which I thought was funny.
Yeah,
funny little segment.
I like that in the editing in that part, how like the first plan is like super elaborate, and then with each plan, the bits become shorter. And like it's still showing the montage of them doing it, but you know he's like, "I'm so sorry" to his stepdad, and he's like, "Sorry," just like that's how it becomes like more and more abrupt with everything. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then they're drinking tea at the end, like thumbs upping.
Yeah, it's like
but
tea, and the cups change too. It's like first he's saying, "Oh, I'm a genius," over and over, and then it's like cool, and then it's just beer at the end of it.
That's a good point too. Man, there's some good little like you got to watch this movie a few times to see everything. But the mom like is in full denial. They make it to the mom's place first. I love when one of my favorite visual gags is he finally gets the mom and the dad to like leave the house to go, and Ed's standing and he's like, "Where's the car? We drove the car here. Where's the car?" And he just moves out of the way, and the car is crashed in. Is like a tree or a fire hydrant. He's like,
it's a sign pole that's like it's not a stop sign, but it's a sign pole, and the car's totaled. Like he was driving fast, and it's hilarious because he's like, "We're parked." There's no explanation. He just says, "Yeah, I was parked."
Sorry.
How did this happen?
I mean, it's just good, sort of like clean and tidy. Like, what do we do now? You know, no explanation needed. No, don't worry about it. Yeah,
we need.
But also, Ed really wants to drive Philip's Jaguar.
Yeah,
he's got an '80s Jaguar, which is a real beast of a car, and he gets his wish. And the funniest thing about them driving to pick up the other group is they keep putting metal on. It's like, this is not the time. And Ed just needs to, like, I don't know, he's got some sort of, I don't know, needs to just always be loud.
Yeah,
I guess. How would you describe Ed's character? He always needs to be the most rambunctious, raucous, loudest.
I think it's almost like he's covering up for something. Like he is a different person than what he portrays, and he's constantly trying to portray something. I'm not sure exactly what that is.
I'll be back in a sec.
It's like he needs to be more exciting than he is, I guess.
Yeah,
at least seems so.
I definitely if I were to like look at it as an actor, it's like he justifies himself by basically having the most bravado and confidence and assuredness of anything that he's going to do, because he knows that like that he's not really doing shit all. Like he's got no other ambitions, so
Right.
he's just choosing to be confident and bravado all the time. But there's nothing else he's doing. Like he's a douche the entire time, basically. Like he's on his phone while they're like walking, trying to get to safety. He's texting people, making sounds. Like I don't know how, but he just seems to be so sure of himself, and it's all undeserved because it's always detrimental to everyone else.
Right. So he's literally like a leech to everybody around him. And I guess, yeah, there are some people where it's like, it's fine to not contribute, but if you're going to be making a big deal about it all the time, or like, you know, my contribution is playing loud music. It's like, no, that's not a contribution, buddy.
It's not a contribution. Like he's not contributing things that are useful or helpful in any sort of way most of the time. That's why, like, when he says, oh, the gun is a real gun, that's why he gets to be like, ha, I told you. Like, yeah, I knew it was a gun.
The
but
one
dogs don't look up. Or they do. Like, dogs look up. Like, that's a terrible thing to think.
I wrote a note in my notes here at this point in the movie where I said, can dogs look up? I was going to ask you guys if I've never heard that before. I'm pretty sure dogs can look up.
They can. I was very upset because I thought about it. I was like, can dogs look up? Of course they can. Of course they do this.
So back when Shaun first gets broken up with, they go to the Winchester to have a drink in that drinking sequence, and we get to learn about Ed's ability to do a perfect ape impression, which is pretty funny. We only get to see like the once, but he also is telling stories. He's like, you know, people that come here all the time, you know, they're rich people, they lead rich lives. Points out the guys, like that guy's always got women around him. He looks like a stereotypical like gigolo kind of douchebag. And it's like he killed his first wife and now he spends his days here. You know, he's rich. And then the woman behind him, what's the woman's story?
She was
again?
A porn star that has.
She's a porn star. Oh, yeah, the first interracial gangbang. And then he says something really inappropriate about that as well, which, you know, we're not G-rated, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
But then he talks about the bar owner is like in with the mob, and the reason why he's got the Winchester is because he's like, that's a real gun, and he always wants to be prepared or whatever. And it was a great thing that all of that stuff is clearly wrong, except for that gun is a legit gun. But Shaun's like, the bar's called the Winchester. Of course, he has to have a Winchester like displayed.
Yeah. I mean, that's also just like, it just like shows that like that's what his brain is, right? Like this guy just sits there and looks at people and makes up stories that are more interesting than the actual stories, right? He does the same thing for himself. But broken clock, right? Twice a day or whatever, right?
So they make it to Liz's flat. They pick up Liz, David, and Diane. As they're driving away, more car shenanigans sort of ensues, and Philip, he's bit, but then he gets bit again as they get into the car, which I think accelerates his turning into a zombie. And he sort of reveals to Shaun that he was a dick to him just to like toughen him up, because he didn't want Shaun to dwell on the fact that his dad had died so young, which I thought was a very heartfelt, sweet moment. And he was basically like, I always loved you. And
yeah, he also says that like it was hard because he'd already grown up so much when he entered his life.
He was like 12.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, it's hard for me to connect with you when you already kind of like disliked me from the get-go kind of thing, because I was replacing your father.
Yeah. That was a nice moment. Like,
Mhm.
I liked that it came in a moment when it was all chaotic. Like, all of them are making jokes and yelling at each other, and the music's loud and all of this. And then it just flips to that moment, and it's like, what's going on? What are you talking about? And it's like, oh shit, he's also about to die. That's why he realizes, like, oh, he knows he's dying, and he's saying this to me right now. Thank you. And then he's dead, and then he's not dead.
And then we get the greatest joke ever when they all leave the car, and it's like, that man is not my father. And then he turns off the radio. It's like, well, maybe,
well, maybe.
Maybe.
I did also like the reveal that he crossed over, because he's like, Philip's dead, and the mom's like, he's not dead, and then it cuts to him, he's got zombie face. I was like, that was good.
I was upset that Ed came out of the car, walked around to the door side, and didn't open the door. It's like they're knocking on the door, they're yelling, Ed, open the door, and Liz has to come around, and she's like, Ed, what are you doing? He's texting.
He's got to make sure that people know that he doesn't have weed.
Oh my god!
It's like every call he gets is just somebody asking for weed, and he doesn't have any.
He has nothing.
He also says a comically out of place racial slur, which I was not expecting.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I rewinded it. I was like, did I hear that right?
I had subtitles on, and I was like, no way. And the thing is we watch a lot of movies from the 80s and 90s where like the F slur and the R word are used, like, and they're not used that much. And I don't think we've ever gotten one of these. And it to be in this like British. And then I looked at the cast and I was like, how
did they let this? Where did this come from?
Yeah.
It says a lot about the character.
Yeah,
it says a lot about the character.
That's what it was. It was like solidifying this idea of this character is just awful. Like
in so many ways, yeah.
There's a reason nobody likes him.
And
that was the faces of all of them too, and reaction. They're like, "Why the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck,
dude?
What's wrong with you?
It's 2004, my guy.
Yeah.
I was reluctant to even like mention that, but
I thought it was hilarious, but also terrible.
Yeah. So they they abandon the car. They're making their way on foot, and this is sort of where they're going through the backyards. They have to have it the rest of the way through the backyards, and then when they're going through the backyards, we get that funny scene where, so throughout this movie, Shaun is just like taking charge, and it cuts to Liz so many times to see her be like, oh, it takes a full-on zombie apocalypse for my boyfriend to really get it together.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a good thing. Some people really shine in a crisis situation. And those are the kind of people you want to be around in your life.
It's true. Yeah. I think that if you were just stuck with Ed the whole time, you would be dead immediately.
Dead. Ed equals dead. Shaun equals
you're dead.
Shaun equals Dawn.
Dawn of the dead.
They really hit home that Shaun's life is so stagnant that he just needed this sort of thing to kickstart it, to be able to really, show what matters in life. And I think it's a really good juxtaposition, because I think that Shaun was just like kind of done. He's kind of a defeatist. He's kind of like a born loser kind of guy. And then he hangs out with this like actual piece of shit who isn't, they seem like they're at a pivotal point in their life. How old is Edgar Wright? Or I can't believe I keep doing that. Simon Pegg. How old is he even now? Like 50? So he would have been like...
Well, his character is 29.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. They say it. Yeah. So 29 is a pivotal age. That's when I turned my shit around. I was a cook for many years, and I was like, this is not doing it for me. And got into IT. Ironically, I'm much more lazy now. But I'm much happier. That's crazy. That's like when we would have met, Nate. That's like when I was at the escape room. I was like
Oh,
back in
yeah.
school. So that was like 10 years ago now. That's crazy.
Holy shit. Cause yeah, that's like 2015, I think.
Yeah, roughly.
Was that, yeah, that time I think I was there, 2015, 2016-ish, and then 2017 too. But you were gone around 2017.
I got a job at Lavazza at the Forest Hill Loblaws.
Yeah.
I did that for a year after the escape rooms.
Yeah. So I remember you left at some point, and then oh my gosh, that terrible manager came in.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Man. Oh yeah, that was awful.
Yeah.
First person to make me
hearing
really
about
mad.
At like the most chill job possible. You
Yeah,
get to
like,
literally act as your
can't be
job.
making me mad during this job. That's crazy. This is so easy, and you're upsetting me. I'm never upset. Yeah,
That's what
10
always
years ago.
happens.
It's crazy
Wow.
that's been that long.
A shitty manager will ruin everything.
They will.
Yeah. I was a good manager,
So-
right, guys?
Yeah, you were great.
You were good.
You were great.
Probably
Took
still
full
talk
advantage of
about
it.
talk to whoever that was.
If I've never apologized for taking full advantage of it, well, Martin Freeman and his squad. I am sorry. They meet the alternate crew in this backyard segment. We already talked about the familiar faces. Matt Lucas, the woman is from Stuff. The girl who's like the alternative to Diane is from Stuff from this era.
From Stuff.
From Stuff. I can't
She's
remember.
in things.
Oh, you know what? I think she's from Black Books also. I think she's like
at this
Tisman
point.
Grigg.
Yeah, she's in all the same stuff as the rest of these people.
Yeah.
They all work together.
So if you look at the cast of Black Books, though, it's basically just three actors and then a bunch of people coming into this like bookstore, and the other guy on it is the comedian. What's his name? Bill Bailey. If you don't know the name, if you look up Bill Bailey, you've definitely seen him before. He does a lot of like drums comedy. Anyway, they're the cast of Black Books. That's where I know her from. They kind of walk through and they do this funny thing where Yvonne and Shaun are like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? See you've amassed your group of friends." And when they're leaving, they walk by each other and they just like all their counterparts say hello to each other in the same way.
Just like a bizarro world moment, which is like a multiverse moment. You're like, okay,
yeah,
I like it.
The Seinfeld episode where there's the bizarro friend group that Elaine joins. Pretty much like that. Kessler, which is great. Martin Freeman's in that group as well, as we noticed.
Yeah.
So we finally get to sort of the third act, the final section of the movie, where they're on the other side of the fence of the Winchester. We get that bit with the pajamaed man. The pajamaed man zombie comes and they fight him off and push him back with a ball on a pole ball. What's that game even called?
Tetherball?
That's the one. You know, when a ball is tethered to a pole.
Yeah.
Pole ball.
Yeah.
Pole ball, the game.
The game where you've got pole and ball. The thing that I liked about that bit was Shaun tries to use it like a mace, like a flail. It's like swinging it at him. And they're like, "No, stab him, stab him."
Stab.
He was like, no.
Unfortunately, it's revealed later that during the scuffle, the Barbara, the mom, Shaun's mom, gets bit. We'll get to that in a minute. The dangerous journey is sort of coming to a close, though, until they do the trope where they see a group of zombies. So what do? Let's try to act like zombies to pass through them. And this trope was famously done a couple times on The Walking Dead, most specifically in that first season.
But in Walking Dead, you have to smear guts all over yourself.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. They don't smear guts all over themselves. I think it's a much more effective, and they like explain it away on The Walking Dead. We're like, well, the zombies can they smell alive people. So if you cover it up with guts,
I feel like that makes sense more than just acting like a zombie. But I think this trope is funny when people are acting like hypnotized or like there's a great moment in The Mummy where there's like an army of people and they're all like Imhotep, Imhotep. They're chasing Benny or not Benny, the brother or whatever, and he's running and then he goes around a corner and then he comes out and he's like Imhotep, and they are about to kill him and then they all stop and just kind of leave him alone. So I do think it's funny. I also like the moment where they're all lined up and the actor is trying to get them to all right, so everybody just go vacant in your face and slump your shoulders, and she's giving them an acting lesson on how to be a zombie. And she goes to the mom and she's like, that look of vacancy, it's perfect. She's like, what? Well, sorry, I wasn't listening to you. And then, I think it's fine. Like, it doesn't make me think lesser of the movie. I think that the bit is good. Yeah.
I just thought it was this is the comedic moment, because I thought they, I don't know, would do more than just make the sounds. And they had the actress who, I guess Ed said that was a failed actress, coaching them, which I thought, me as an actor, is hilarious. Like, you're hearing all of the same notes that any other coach might give. Good vocal work. Oh, stupid. You're just groaning, whatever. But the fact that all of them, they kind of all keep that exact same thing that they did for the exercise of being a zombie. Through the whole time, I thought the mom was hilarious because she just looked lost.
the noise she's making, she's like, ooh, she's making like a ghost noise.
Ooh, ooh.
She's also the closest one to a zombie at this point, which is
she got big.
David makes me nuts through this whole movie because it's like he's one of those characters that he sees everything happening and he's still skeptical about every single thing. And I get that he loves Liz and he wants to be the hero, but it's like he goes about it in this really frustrating way, right down to this point where they're going to do this thing. So I'm thinking about it they get out there and he just goes, he's going to get eaten immediately. So you may as well just practice a little before you go out there. I think Ed's also kind of reluctant to he's like, I'll do it on the day.
Basically he's asking what Shaun is gonna do, oh, you're gonna do it better, and he's like, oh, that was actually really good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, let's see you do it then. Oh man, yeah, I think that the word would be smarmy. He's just kind of like a smarmy jerk, and specifically to Shaun because he doesn't like Shaun because Shaun is dating his would-be girlfriend or whatever. But yeah, he's got little shitty comments the entire movie, and the movie does a good job of making you dislike him because you can kind of see through what he's putting forth.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
But I mean, you even still sort of feel a little bit bad for him when he does die, but they do a pretty good job of making you toe that line. You're like, maybe he didn't deserve that. Yeah, they
spent a giant chunk of that $6 million on that murder scene, on that death scene.
Yeah,
it looks so good. Which we're rapidly approaching. They make it over. They zombie through. They fuck that up right in front of the door. They can't get into the Winchester. Then they sort of have that moment in every hero's journey story where they're all just turning on each other. There's this running gag that Ed's a weed dealer, and he keeps calling the guy from the appliance shop that they're both just the worst idiots ever. And he gets a call from this guy to be like, yo, man, you got a Henry? Which is a funny thing to call, I assume a dime bag or whatever. He's like, no, man, I'm still out. My guy's I can't get to him. And the funny thing about that is the looming apocalypse. that is happening directly to them at this moment. He takes the phone, he smashes it. They're all arguing with each other, and then there's that great scene where they're like, think about what's happening right now, and they look at the group of zombies, and the zombies are just looking at them. Like all of them are looking right at them.
Yeah,
it's such a good moment, and you have to suspend your disbelief for this kind of 5 minutes a little bit, because it's like the zombies are always an imminent danger. They're always coming. But I guess they've just been watching this whole time, just watching them all just argue with each other.
Watching them yell at each other. Yeah, I really thought like, oh, these guys are all about to die. Like right now, they can't get in. He's yelling. They're coming towards them. And then there's a full text conversation. He picks up the phone. Like, how is this?
I think that,
how are they not attacking? They're right there.
The movie has to pause for the joke, and the joke is well worth it, I think, because that visual gag is hilarious. So it's like, let it happen and let your belief be suspended for a second, just for that.
For a
joke
second,
to land.
yeah. They did that immediately. It's like, just forget about the swarm of zombies right now.
Yeah, because this joke is gonna hit hard in a couple seconds. Yeah. Just wait. You wait. And then I guess Shaun runs away to lure them away. And
David eventually freaks out and just smashes out a window to get into the Winchester. And Shaun's like, I'll lead them away and I'll give them the slip.
I also don't understand how he's luring them away, but he pushes through all of them. Like he just walks through like this. Come get me, and like they're grabbing him essentially.
Steve, can you hit the theory corner sting for me? I've got one. I think.
What's the theory?
I think that Shaun and potentially Liz. I think Shaun not only is like spoilers for the, but has a thing like Ellie, where Ellie is like immune to the zombie, because he gets sneezed on in that bus ride so much and never doesn't get it. But also, I think he's got like straight up plot armor where the zombies like can't fully get to him for whatever mystical reason. I think there's some magic going on with Shaun a little bit.
Yeah, because he did run through the crowd, and all of the zombies' arms went up. You can see the shot of all of them just going, ah.
They don't want his blood. He's gross. They're like, ew,
gross.
Disgusting.
Ew, let him get past. Ew, that's not for us.
You better wash your hands if you touch him.
Yeah.
But I also thought that this moment was supposed to maybe make us think that Shaun gets bitten. When I first saw it, it's like, because he's gone for a bit, right? So then, we're supposed to be like, oh, did he maybe get bitten on the way back? I don't know, but
he's gone long enough for David to sort of do a monologue about how everything's messed up. They throw in his face the Liz stuff that I was talking about earlier, about how like, that's when Diane reveals that like, you went for Liz, she turned you down, and you fell into my lap because I was available. And David's doubling down on that not being the case, and he's yelling about how Shaun doesn't know what he's doing now. He's out there, and when Shaun comes back, he's like, "Hey guys, I gave him the slip. We should be good." And they start barricading the place at that point. But I think David and Ed are two of like the worst. They're good characters, right? Because you legitimately like have an emotional response to them. But I think they're two of the worst characters in things that I've seen in a minute, where that emotional response allows you to feel a certain way. And David, man, I love that actor and that comedian who plays David, Dylan Moran. But this whole movie, he's almost not him to me, because he's playing this character so well. I think is the thing there, Same with like Nick Frost in a way too. Like Nick Frost is always kind of the like sidekicky kind of character, and he's always playing like a larger than life character. And this one is one of his more grounded ones. But I want to punch that dude in the head so hard, like fuck off, bro.
Yeah, both.
He reminds me of a friend I had in junior high and high school who was just like constantly trying to be the life of the party, and it was like, bro, just like take a breath, dude.
Doing too much. Yeah.
You're doing too much. That's a perfect way to put it. So yeah, they barricade the place. It's revealed that the rifle is actually a live gun. Before that, though, this part didn't make a lot of sense to me. The power comes back on for like a second, and they're like, "We got to shut the power down, but we need the TV to see if we can find any information." Is that sort of what happened there?
Well, they explain it. The streetlights come back on. So like the main power grid is, they realize that like the streetlights come on because it's nighttime, they come on automatically. So they realize that the power isn't out in the neighborhood. It must just be the breaker that's gone out in the bar itself. So he has to go down to flip the breaker switches back on in order to reset the fuses. But they don't want to turn on the lights because they don't want to broadcast their position. But he knows that, like, the outlets are going to work on a different breaker than the lights. He explains this all very succinctly, very quickly. And then Irish, is shitting on the plan. And he's like, "It's very simple, asshole." And he just like goes away and does it. So they explain it, but
That's also where we get my favorite scene of the whole movie. I think my favorite zombie moment, where he's down in the basement and the lights come on for a second, and it just shows like the horde outside the window, and he just walks over and like pulls the blind.
Not gonna look at that.
And then when he goes back,
actually, there's another joke. There's a similar joke, but you only hear the joke, you don't see it. Where he's talking to his mom on the phone, and she's like, "They're a bit bitey," and he's like, "Are they still outside?" And she's like, "I don't know. We've closed the curtains."
We've closed the curtains. Yeah.
Right. That's a callback.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a you have to watch the movie a bunch of times to really connect. That's this movie in like fully. He goes back upstairs, and I hate this moment so much. They're all trying to be quiet. Lights are down. They just are trying to find a channel to get some information on the TV. And Ed comes over, like, "Can I have a quid?" I can't remember. Like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And then he wins the jackpot on like the gambling, like the slot machine, and it just goes nuts. And that's when we get the zombie moment of the zombies just crashing through the windows. And he gets the Winchester, and he's fucked, man. For as good a survivalist as Shaun is, he's got to be the worst shot I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
He's probably never shot a gun before.
Yeah, but
Also,
there's so many zombies. Like, how are you missing entirely?
Maybe it's a shitty gun. Also, I don't know. Is it established that he's bad at video games earlier? Because that would be funny if he was really bad at the video game that they're playing.
It's established earlier he's good at video games. Remember when
he should be able to shoot well.
When Ed's playing, and he's like up to the left. He's talking to him. He's like up to the left. I thought
that doesn't mean he's good. That just means that he's good at giving directions.
Yeah. What a strange red herring.
Yeah. I was very surprised, but they kind of pointed that out with the records earlier. Like, they can't hit them.
Mm-hmm. They're just whipping them like past their head. The one that does hit gets the guy in the eye and gets the zombie in the eye and just makes him angrier.
Yeah.
Oh, I invented a word. I invented a genre word I just found in my notes here for this movie. It's a zombie.
A zombie.
There you go.
That's
Steve,
good.
I thought you'd hit me with one of the familiar killers noises.
Oh,
the fart sound. It's a zombie. Thank you. And that word, I probably didn't. Let's see. Desperate zombie attack, desperate measures. The zombies break in.
Yeah, and the mom turns into a zombie here, and we have the back and forth and the real emotional weight. Extremely good performance by Simon Pegg here, and actually, what's his name? The Irish guy,
Dylan Moran.
He's doing pretty good too. Not as good as Simon Pegg, but still pretty good. Like, his performance of being worried and stressed and realistically wanting to, shoot somebody, but being scared about doing it. It's all coming off appropriate and well performed.
Yeah. That was a killer scene, actually.
Mm-hmm. And the mom's doing pretty good too. Like, I think that, just overall the cast in this movie, considering that like they're all background is all comedy, the drama in this movie works so well. Like they're
Very
doing,
well. Yeah. When the moments come, it's very good. Very, and it's surprising because it's like, oh, I feel those moments, like the dad dying or knowing that he's dying, the mom knowing that she's dying, the drama of the breakup, and like all when they were walking and they meet up with the group just before that. Liz is talking about, oh, this, I thought this wasn't about us. This has nothing to do with us. It's like supposed to be survival and all of that. Like you feel those moments when they come in, and they come in pretty quickly because it's a comedy, but you feel it still. That's nice.
I don't think there's any misses for me in terms of the drama that's going on throughout. Everything from the beginning conversation, you can feel the weightiness, even though it's very funny when they're like having a one-on-one conversation, but the people they're talking about are all there and can hear them with an earshot, and like the genius editing of just revealing everything slowly is so funny. It's like, it's not that I don't like you, Ed, and then you just finally see Ed is standing right there and he's like, I don't give a fuck. And then we get the same joke. It's not that I don't like you, Ed and Diane. But yeah, and then up to like when he gets broken up with, and the part in the car with his dad, and then the death scene. It's all, and even the death of Nick Frost is pretty weighty as well. And we get the call back to the fart, which is crazy that they have this like really weighted, heavy, emotional moment where you're kind of tearing up and you got a frog in your throat, and then they cap it with a fart joke, and you're like, oh god,
yeah,
I'm crying during a fart scene.
The fart scene.
How did they do this to me? So we've already spoken about it, but this is when the bartender corpse comes in as well, and we get the amazing dance sequence / fight scene where they beat him to death with pool cues. But yeah, the stuff is just really happening.
I think it's really funny that the Queen's playing on the jukebox. And he says, "Kill the Queen." And they all look at him like, "Whoa, whoa!" Oh, I mean the music.
Yeah, the music. Yeah.
I thought that was a good little,
that was a good
reference to them loving the Queen. And as Canadians, I through this whole movie, I'm going, we're tied to Great Britain in this weird way as Canadians, and I think that's why I've always identified with like British comedy a little bit. I've always had kind of a soft spot for it. Because the Queen, the monarchy is technically like we're still connected to it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So the kill the Queen joke was really funny considering the Queen literally died like last year.
It's like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's a zombie.
This reference, I put this up while we were talking, but Steve's sister came in the chat and mentioned Scary Movie, which is more parody. But from this era, and it's a horror comedy. That's a really good example.
Yeah.
So yeah, they kill the Queen sequence. They get the gun. It kind of turns into like a survival horror video game. Mom's bit. She's the classic gets bit and doesn't tell anybody character. Is what I.
You gotta have one in every zombie.
Gotta have that in every zombie. They range from...
I like her reasoning though. Like most people are doing it because they're cowards or because they think they can beat it. She's just like, I just didn't want to inconvenience you. Like I didn't want to make anybody upset.
I don't want anybody to fuss over me. It's like you gotta tell people, man.
You gotta tell people. But they made it clear also that like she hid it after she let out the neighbor or whoever that was, the friends.
Yeah, she thought it was her friends, but it was just that pajama.
She stuffs it. Yeah, it's the same thing. So it's like, oh yeah, she was bit. Like, when is she gonna start turning? We're gonna talk about this.
I think you see her doing something in that scene too as they're walking away. Like that's a good observation.
Yeah, you definitely see it. She says, "Oh, I didn't mean to," and then like stuffs her sleeve or fixes her sleeve, and it's such a. I guess like you could miss it, but because it just makes sense that guy was a zombie and she let him out. Like, what else would happen? She didn't kill him.
Right. Because she thought
Also,
it was like her friends.
Shaun does like a super heroic jump off of a tiny trampoline over the fence, like, with a flip and a spin.
Yeah.
Which I have always thought was ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous. Like, just before that, he broke the fence trying to jump over it, and like fell so awkwardly.
That gag, they do that gag in all three of the movies. The Hot Fuzz and The World's End as well.
Oh.
In Hot Fuzz, he's like, "What's the matter? You never jumped a fence before?" And he's like a super cop in that movie, right? So he's just like flipping over all of them, like a crazy ninja. It's awesome.
Oh my god, that's pretty funny then.
Yeah. You're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I scuffed it a little bit earlier. I thought when David was giving his monologue, they started talking about the relationship revelations, but it actually happens now, and that's what leads him to be like, I gotta get out of here, and he goes over to a window and he gets pulled apart. And for some reason Diane sees him get pulled apart, and then she's like, David, I'm coming for you, and just gets absorbed into the mess.
Yeah.
Doesn't, I assume she just became a zombie.
They needed a reason for her to die.
Yeah.
Everybody has to die.
Yeah. Except for our main two.
Yeah.
It's a love story, guys. This isn't a horror or a comedy. It's a romance.
It's a romance.
It's a zom-com.
Zom-com.
I've done it again.
Okay, that
We've
one.
done it
again.
I like that one better. A zom-com is better. You officially get a full Chucky laugh.
Oh my gosh.
The zombies are.
Actually, there's another zombie comedy that we should do on the show because no one has ever seen this movie. It's called Fido. Me and one of my friends went to go see it when we were, I don't know, whenever it came out. And
is that the reality TV one?
No, you've never heard of it, Jason. I'm guaranteeing you've never heard of it. Look it up right now. Fido zombie movie.
No.
Yeah, it's got a ton of people in it. It's about like the zombie apocalypse happens, and it's afterwards where the communities are all back together. It's almost like it would be in this world after the zombie apocalypse, and they're trying to reintegrate zombies into society. So they have like servant zombies and stuff. And this kid,
it's Billy Connolly.
This kid like gets a zombie and names it Fido, and it's like his dog. It's basically like Lassie, but it's like a zombie. It's good. It's a good movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
2006.
Oh, this is a good example. This is from much later, but Warm Bodies with
Zom-com.
What's his face?
Zom-com for sure.
That one's a weird pervert movie. If you want to bone a zombie, you're weird.
Hey, she likes that hunky zombie. Okay.
Hey, that zombie's hot. All right, so so we're kind of at the end.
Did that again. What's her Frankenstein? Lisa Frankenstein is a movie that.
Oh yeah, Lisa Frankenstein. Yeah, there's
Same
also
idea.
iZombie.
I'm gonna make this zombie a perfect boyfriend.
That's the weird thing to me is like when they do retellings of Frankenstein and they make Frankenstein hot. I'm always like, why? The whole thing about Frankenstein is that he's supposed to be horrifying to look at, and nobody can understand like who he is as a person because he's so frightening physically. Yeah, like let's make him hot. Like that defeats the whole purpose of Frankenstein.
That has Cole Sprouse and Catherine Newton in it.
They're just hot. Like
yeah. What if Frankenstein was hot? Well, he probably have a really easy time integrating into society.
I just like looking at this ugly face all the time. This would be great. Let's make them attractive.
I fully believe that Rask plays here that's a line from Warm Bodies. I believe it. Or Lisa Frankenstein.
Sounds like it. Yeah. Sounds like it.
That's a line.
I believe that it would be.
Wow.
It may not actually be.
If it is,
it's all inconclusive.
I wonder how they did that. That's an interesting line to give.
Maybe we do have a hard line. So
Zomcom month.
We're kind of at the end of the movie now, where they retreat into the basement after burning the bar, and Nick Frost gets bitten like 20 times, and we have his heartwarming death sequence, and he farts, and then the army shows up.
I thought it was really messed up where they do that thing where it's like, I guess we have to kill ourselves. I guess you shoot me and then shoot yourself.
Yeah.
And you just hear Ed in the background like, I don't know, I want to shoot myself right now. Could I?
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny and dark.
He also says like, I don't mind being eaten. It's fine.
I don't mind being eaten now.
It's okay.
Actually, I'll kill myself.
They're about to light cigarettes, and it's revealed that there's like an elevator for bringing in stock for the Winchester, and they slowly they slowly raise up out of the ground.
That's the most unrealistic part of the movie, is that that shitty old pub has a automated lift for the deliveries. It would have a crappy slide that the delivery people would have to like get down there on their hands and knees and use,
or just have like a shitty back door.
I used to deliver beer for the beer store, and there's like 2 places in all of Toronto that have those kind of elevators, and both of them are not Winchester level. They're like fancy hotels.
Maybe England's just different.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just built different.
They have different standards of working conditions.
Yeah.
Yep. But at that moment, literally, like a truck rolls up. They think they're going to get eaten in that moment because there's still zombies everywhere. Like a tank truck rolls up and boots to the ground. And they're just mowing down zombos. He sees Yvonne with the golf club, like you mentioned. And that's when we see that like montage of what the zombies are being used for in the like aftermath. And then it's revealed that Liz and Shaun, their house is all like clean. They live in that flat from the beginning of the movie that Shaun had lived in. But it's all like nice and clean now. And they're gonna go have a nice date, and they're jokey. And then he's like, I just have to go to the shed. I'm just gonna go to the shed for a little bit. She's like, okay, but like more playful way. And Ed's his best pal who can still play video games somehow.
Well, they establish on the news channel that people retain basic functions, like weird.
They said their primal instincts are still there, and I'm like, that doesn't mean that they push shopping carts or like have a job.
I mean, maybe some people, because they get into such routine stuff in their life, that becomes their instinct after that. You know, like that's what the movie's saying at the beginning, when everybody's just in marching order doing their daily routines, that becomes what your instincts are to naturally do, right? So like, because Ed didn't have a routine except playing video games and smoking weed, his primal instincts have now been replaced with playing Tekken 2 or whatever.
Oh my gosh, I guess so. That's a theory. That's
true.
Theory. Yeah,
that's pretty much Shaun of the Dead. So a couple things that we like to do at the end of the show here. First thing, there's no title drop in this movie because somebody's going to look at this screen and say, that's a real Shaun of the Dead. His name is a lot of times, but no title drop this week. I guess that brings us to Home Alone at all.
If you had to pick one,
what do you think the Home
when
Alone of it
is
all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone?
I really gotta know.
When is the Home Alone of it all?
What is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
The Home Alone of it all, to just give you a brief synopsis of what the idea is in the movie Home Alone, right? The point of the movie we all kind of came to see was when Kevin McAllister slaps down the blueprints with all the little traps on it, and we want to see those burglars get decimated by Kevin McAllister's traps. Now, I've sort of realized that a lot of movies sort of have this sort of moment. Sometimes Steve has brought up before that it's sort of like the the parts that play the best in the trailer. Sometimes it's like the third act, you know. Does that make sense to you?
That does make sense. Okay, that totally makes
What-
sense. It's like,
What would your Home Alone of it all be for Shaun of the Dead?
ooh, I feel like first thing that came to mind was the whacking of the sticks in rhythm with the Queen song. That's the first thing that came to mind. But maybe like there's a moment in the middle, I feel like when they're all in the car and the metal music is playing and they're like trying to figure out what to do next, and Philip is dying, and just like all of the chaos within that car feels like what the energy of the movie was supposed to be. Like, oh, this is a chaotic ride and it's all going downhill. Like that seems to be what that setup is, like from that point on, as if like this is the blueprint of what's about to happen. Chaos and downhill.
That's pretty good. I like that. How about you, Steve?
I mean, I instinctively want to say the moment when he wakes up from the hangover, like as soon as the mom on the phone is like, people don't eat meat anymore. Like that's kind of when the movie starts for me. But more specifically, I think it's when the TV is like, make sure you lock and secure all doors. And they turn and there's like a zombie just in the house, like, they're like, oh my God, his arm's off. Like that's the Home Alone of it all for me.
Right.
That's a good one.
That's good. Mine actually is the first time I wrote it down in my notes. There was a very distinct moment where the movie gets a little bit funnier within the actual zombie part, and there was that scene I talked about where there's not a lot of zombie stuff going on, but the jokes per minute sort of ramped up. But that's not as quantifiable as the hangover walk and him being completely oblivious to the zombies. I think this week that's my Home Alone of it all.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Tim asks a good question here. What would each host's first step be to survive a zombie outbreak? How about you, Nathan? What do you think?
My first step to survive a zombie outbreak, I feel like it's get as much food as I possibly can because I'm one bite Nathan. Like that's my idea.
and then bite it all in one bite and just eat it all in one bite.
Yeah, like let me just stock up, like be as full as possible. So anything that's gonna happen, I actually have energy for. Food. Where am I getting all the food? Go out to the stores. I'm looting. My favorite thing. The thing I really hoped would happen more in Toronto. Looting during COVID. That would have been great.
If Pierre Polyev, I'm not
COVID
going
was
to get too
a zombie
political.
outbreak. Let's get to looting, guys.
Yeah, just loot. You're not
Just
even
loot.
sure. It's like I've
Not
been
even
lost
sure
in the
what to
forest
get.
for 10 minutes and I'm already drinking my own piss.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy sneezed on a bus, just smashed through a.
I need to boil my urine now. Something like that.
Rask plays in the chat says chainmail. You know, it's pretty good. How about you?
That'd be hard to find some chainmail.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
Well, I mentioned earlier that I made a zombie movie when I was younger. And that movie was about what you do, what the plan is. It was called The Plan. And the plan was get to Costco and lock down in Costco, barricade all the entrances and exits to Costco, and just survive as long as you can off all of the food in there without any zombies coming in. But in my older, more wizened years, I realized that that's probably a terrible plan because so many people would go to Costco.
Yeah.
Costco would be the first place people would go. But I do think the first step, finding yourself a blunt instrument, something that you can use to destroy or remove the head, You know? You know?
That's
Yeah.
definitely smart.
I think I would agree with that. I think that beyond food and getting a weapon, I think higher ground. I kind of see David's point a little bit. They were up on like the 3rd floor, I assume. Like they were up in a building. And I know you have to eventually come down to like get more resources, but I always think of the movie 28 Days Later when they find that the father and daughter who are like up in a apartment building. Whenever I watch zombie movies, I'm like, go find an apartment building and get as high up as possible to at least like figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, what you want to do is like go around to everybody on your floor and tell everybody to fill up every sink and bathtub with as much water as you can.
Yes.
And just like keep that there. Fill up all the vessels that you have with water until the water runs out, because the water will stop eventually, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as the disaster happens, just fill. This is what you're supposed to do in an actual disaster,
Like
too,
a
not just
hurricane,
zombies. Yeah, you do this in like real ones. Yeah. So yeah, that's the first thing you want to do, just so you have water, because you know you'll die so fast without hydration, and then food. Food is the next thing. But yeah, if you can make like a pact with, if you live in an apartment building, make a pact with everybody on your floor and then spread to other floors and then turn your apartment building into a complex.
Fill up the water, folks.
Yeah.
Because it like zombies have weird like just the ability. They almost have like Jason powers where they can just appear in places even if it doesn't make sense. But I feel like in reality, how are they going to get up into a building if the door is locked and also you're on like the 19th floor?
It's always an idiot. It's someone who props open
It's
a door
always
with
an
a
idiot,
brick or something,
yeah.
you know, like it's some fool.
The bottom
this literally
basement
happens in this movie.
propped open to get back in, and then zombies snuck in from there and just walked up.
Yeah, there in The Walking Dead. There's like this like gang. There's this episode where there's this gang that holds up in an apartment building, but they're all like the worst people ever.
Oh god,
they like steal people and take them there and like make them your concubine kind of nonsense. Like it's like nobody, you know what I mean? Like that's where it's like a problem of storytelling and writing. I want to know.
In the apocalypse, everybody turns into a monster. That's what happens.
Yeah.
No laws. Everyone goes insane.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Well, that was a good little thought experiment. I'd like to now ask everybody if they would like to play a game.
What's the game?
It's time to play Guess the MPAA.
Read
is Shaun Ducklington, and I am the host of the hit game show, the MPAA Rating Game. Of course, that is the #1 game in the world where you have to guess the MPAA certificate number for the movie this week. Each and every single film has a MPAA certificate number, which is determines the sort of the rating of the movie, like rated R or rated PG. But you know what? That has nothing to do with this game. All you have to do is guess a number between 0 and 999. I, for the benefit of the doubt of the listener and the viewer, am going to give you the first 2 numbers. It is a 5-digit number. I'm going to give you the first 2 numbers. Also, doesn't matter. All you have to do is I'm going to go back and forth 3 times, and we're going to see if you can guess a number. I'm going to tell you if it's higher or lower. But I'm going to, we're going to guess a number between 0 and 999. So, Nathan, the first 2 numbers this week are 40. Okay. What is that? Name that number between 000 and 999.
Well, okay. So the first 2 numbers are 40. So I only really have
number.
Wait, it's a 5-digit number.
It's a 5-digit number. That's why I keep saying it does not matter.
But why is it 999 if it's a 5?
It's because that's how high the numbers go for the 3-digit number.
Are we talking decimal points here now?
No, there's no decimal points.
I knew this was going to happen, Jason. You
it's
overcomplicated
amazing.
it.
Yep, that's kind of part of it.
5-digit number.
So it would be
What,
40 something something something. So you're just guessing. You're just guessing the 999.
Oh, I see here. I see. I
Perfect.
got it. Okay. So it's 40,352.
Higher.
Higher.
Oh, 40800.
Lower.
Lower.
Nathan.
40,586.
Lower. Steve.
40444.
Higher, Nathan. This is your final guess.
40,498.
Steve, lower. This is your final guess.
492.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Where's my? Nope, that's the winning one.
I was like, this seems good.
I'm just playing whatever. There we go.
Okay.
That is incorrect. The number this week, and our guest has never, actually both of you were right there. It was 40494.
Damn!
Yeah.
The only person to ever get it. We've been playing this game now for a millennia. That's what it feels like. We played for the benefit of Tim Covey only, I feel like. But that is our MPAA rating game for this week. I think now all that's left to do, you're right, Tim, so close. All that's left to do is hear the sting for the game.
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA. Wow.
I'm sad. I like winning.
Well, a lot of people like winning. That's why I give everybody an opportunity each and every week to win on, hey, did you see this one? But it is now time, of course, for our final thoughts.
It's time for our final thoughts.
Just like at the start, our guest always goes first. This is much more simple than the convoluted nightmare of the last 20 minutes have been. Basically, just give your sort of like in summation final thought on the film, and if you want to give it a rating, whether it be like, you know, a number rating or a star rating or just some nonsense rating, it's up to you. Nathan, you have the floor.
A nonsense rating. That's intrigued me. I'll give it 82 light bulbs out of 70 cups.
I feel like you looked at a table and there's a light bulb and a cup on it.
I looked at the
Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, it could definitely deserve a bit more slippers, but I think overall, this movie is worth the time and money put in to your entire life to watch.
Right.
At least 2 times.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, give this man a round of applause.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh my god. That might have been the funniest moment I've ever like had on this show. Sorry, all our former guests, but Jesus Christ, you really took that ball. You really understood the assignment of the last thing that I said.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You gave me the best thing to do.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, try to follow that up, Steve. What are your final thoughts for Shaun of the Dead, buddy?
I mean, I really enjoy it, and I can't recommend it enough. I think that if you like comedy and you like horror and you like Nick Frost and Simon Pegg or Edgar Wright, if you haven't seen this movie, you really are doing yourself a disservice. But I would go take it even a step further. You should watch Hot Fuzz and World's End as well. They kind of all really sort of wrap up nicely, even though they're all individual stories. They'll deal with clearly sort of like a different moment in a director and writer's life differently when it comes to the core elements and themes of the movies. And it's just great. It's so good. It's so clever. It's so creative. It's one of the best movies to make you feel all of the appropriate emotions that you're meant to feel during it, while also making you laugh. And it's cool. It's cool visually. So yeah, watch it. Shaun of the Dead, good movie. My rating would be an unplanned trip to the Winchester. There we go.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, mine's pretty short and sweet this week as well. Like, it's exactly as I remember. Good and funny and heartfelt. An excellent film. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think my only real issue is that the movie stuck with me so much that I remembered the whole thing on this watch through, which isn't a bad thing, and doesn't detract from my rating. It's just kind of how I felt this time. It was just weird to be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But I also like didn't get bored watching it like I do sometimes with some of the movies that we do that are a little bit more like we're pulling it apart. This one I didn't have to pull apart as hard. I just like enjoyed it. I wish there were more horror comedies that were this high caliber, and Edgar Wright definitely made a masterpiece with this film. And if I was also going to give it a rating, I would give it a small blue elephant out of 20 hanging plants.
Oh man, these nonsense ratings are getting crazy.
Yes.
I get a webcam and a microphone out of ring light.
You've added a new trope. Can I get a round of applause?
Oh.
And there's just one last thing that we have to do, and that's we have to talk about ourselves a little bit. I know we all hate doing it, but Nathan, do you have anything you wanna plug? Anything coming up?
Let's see. My plugs are follow me at One Bite Nathan for some silly food eating content, as well as some reviews on the good places in Toronto, downtown Toronto, and wherever else I go in the world. Follow me at Nathan Tailored, my main page, for any acting content, skits, silly things I do with friends, and just my life, because my life is crazy sometimes and you need to see what I'm doing. And watch out for my next movie feature film coming out called Morningside. It will be coming out hopefully soon. I don't know when, but it's a movie based off of Morningside, the area in Scarborough, and the lives that get affected within it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think one of our former guests on the show saw it early and said it was good. Said it was very good.
Yes.
So I look forward
I've been told it's good. There's been a small screening, a very private screening, and people said it was great. They said I did an amazing job. I'm the bad guy, and people are very surprised that I could be the bad guy. Like, I'm scary in the movie, and obviously I'm not a scary person. Like, scared of beards. I don't know.
Nerds are the scariest of the people around.
I think he said beards, but also
beards.
Yeah,
beards are terrifying. My beard was at max level during that movie.
As a bearded nerd, I nobody fears me.
Yeah, that's my plug. Morningside, Nathan Tailored on Instagram and TikTok. One Bite Nathan just on Instagram.
Is that a play on One Bite Nation?
No. It was.
It is now. Yeah,
it could be. It could be. It was literally just that I could eat so many things in one bite, or like a very few.
I've seen you put a whole donut inside of your mouth. Just like, nope, gone.
It's gone. And it's awful as a human that has to experience that, but great for content. So I still do it. It's the only reason it gets done, because other people have enjoyed it.
That's what people want. They want to see us all suffer for
suffering.
Art.
Is the joy for other people's lives. Fine. I suffer all the time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on. I have something I need you to do in a second here before we get out of here. But Steve, what are you plugging this week?
Check me out on Dr. Occults, Arcane Archives, Darth Theorist, Boba Blackfly on all my socials. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. Check it out. Check it all out.
Check it out.
Thank you, Steve. You can find me, Jason R. Phillips, here each and every week on Hey, Did You See This One? Tomorrow night, me and Steve are going to be guest hosts on the MCU Bleeding Edge podcast, which is we're talking about a horror movie from the 90s called Deep Rising. It's going to be a good time. The movie, I started watching it today, and the movie is bonkers. We're trying to sort of put ourselves out there onto other things. Steve is a prolific voice actor, as it turns out, where I just also do the announcing for Super Kicked Pro Wrestling here once a month in Toronto. We have a show coming up next Friday at the Great Hall, where there's a lot of like big names coming through the company right now. So if you look up Super Kicked, and you'll see some good wrestling. Other than that, I'm important influencer on TikTok, but I don't really post that much on there anymore. And Spider-Hero 9000 on everything else. Thank you for watching. Nathan, I was called you Taylor. Nathan, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, man. You're welcome back anytime. If we do Hot Fuzz, you should come back for Hot Fuzz. That would be good.
If we do your movie, you have to come on to the show to talk about it.
I'm definitely coming for both of us. My movie, Hot Fuzz. Let's do it.
Steve, are you gonna hit the ending buttons?
No, you do it.
I'll do it. Okay. Nathan, there's one question that we have to ask each and every week. And that is, of course, you gotta ask the question. It says it right there.
What is it? Have you seen this one?
Close enough.
It's small. I can't see it.
Oh, it's playing in the background.
Why can't I read that? Did you like this one? Did you see this one? Hey,
That's so fucking funny.
Good. Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh god. That was funny.
I should have known that.
I like that your head was fully off camera. Just what does it say? What does it say?
What does it say? What is that?
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, Did You See This One? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.